Hello, fourth grade friends. This is Mrs. James here, back for part 3 and our final step of creating our Tar Beach artwork. I'm going to go through a couple of supplies that you're going to need to do these last final steps of our collage. First, you're going to need some scissors. You're going to need some glue. Go back and find that construction paper that I had given you at the beginning. I know you used some for your buildings, and if you have some additional, that would be great. We're gonna try to create a fun border around our artwork, just like Faith Ringgold had created her tankas on her fabric artworks. You're gonna need your self-portrait of you flying, and lastly, you're going to need the cityscape that you designed. Alrighty, so first thing that I'm gonna start on is I'm actually gonna start on the stars, and I'm gonna give you a little bit of artistic freedom here to decide what you wanna do for the stars. If you wanted to simply just leave them the tan piece of paper because that's all you have and that's all you can best work with, I'm completely fine with that. Or if you have a yellow piece of the construction paper that you want to use for those stars and go right over top, that's perfectly fine. If you don't have yellow construction paper, and I found a piece of a Cheerios box that is yellow that you can cut out of the stars, that works perfectly fine as well. Or if you are lucky enough to have maybe some gold glitter to create your stars, I'm going to do one of each real quick so you can see what they look like. So for my stars, I'm gonna just draw some large stars, very similarly to how I drew them in the artwork on the tan piece of paper. I'm going to just cut them out. Now, Mrs. James is kind of doing this a little quick just to save time on our video, but remember, when you're creating your art, always really take your time to make sure your craftsmanship or the quality of your art is as nice and neat as you can possibly make it. So there, I've cut out one of the yellow stars. I'm going to get my glue. I'm going to put a little of the glue on the background. A dot goes a long way. You don't need a ton of glue. I'm covering up, collaging right on top of where I did that other star. And if it overlaps with your building, completely fine, no worries, that's fine. I'm gonna get my pencil on the yellow piece of paper, draw another of the stars. Cut that out. And I should have. Now, when you cut it out on this, especially if you see those pencil lines and you don't want to see them in your artwork because we don't want to see them, which you see them pretty bad, the great thing is you can just put glue on the side of your pencils where your pencil is and flip that over, and there you have star number 2. If this starts to buckle up a little bit, just pick up your corners, put a little bit of glue. If the glue comes out, wipe it with your finger, ball it in the center of your hand, it goes away nicely. And last but not least, one of the funnest ways to do stars, if you can get your hands on some glitter, very easily cover over that area right on your paper with some glue. Get that glitter out, kind of sprinkle it, not too much. Shift it around a little bit to cover all of that glue in, and then just go back and dump the extra right back into the container if you can. If you can't dump it right back into the container, go ahead and take the lid off of your container and dump it back in. But that's probably the best way to go about glitter. If you can get your hands on some glitter, do not touch that glittery glue right now because you will get it all over the place, but you want to let that dry for probably at least 24 hours, okay? So that is that for your stars. Have as much fun. If you have some other fun sort of yellow material or gold material that you would like to use for your stars, you have gold fabric at your disposal that you can use. Whatever you can get your hands on for your stars. If you want to do them all the same, you want to do them all different, by all means, go ahead, go right for it. Now remember, Tar Beach was done. The artwork was a nighttime artwork, but I know some of you had made it during the day. So if you want to do a yellow sun or do some glitter for your sun, whatever, have some choices, have some freedom with that. Just remember, we're collaging, so we're cutting and pasting and gluing things down. Whatever you want to use that you have at your disposal is completely fine by me. Step 2, Mrs. James is going to cut out her person. Now, with cutting out my person, I'm gonna really take my time and make sure I follow right along the edge of my drawing. Why? Because I don't wanna see any of that white paper shown when I go to glue it down. And hence, this was another reason Mrs. James had you use a black Sharpie marker on your artwork, because I wanted to make sure that you had a buffer of a line, that you're not going to cut part of your person off. But as you can see, I'm taking my time and following right along. Now, also, good thing to note, Mrs. James likes to try to keep her scissors going in one direction and kind of just cutting, moving the paper around. I'm going to go back to that hair. I'm just going to go around it for right now. Okay, there's one part off. I'm going to jump on the other side very quickly just to get the whole other side of my body off. And remember, we shouldn't see any white paper when you're done cutting, with the exception of white in my shirt there, because white was part of my shirt color. But if you take your time cutting nicely and neatly, we should not see any white extra paper around your person. This is what we talk about again, craftsmanship, how nice and neat you can make your artwork look. And that is really important in the art world, because if you want to be an artist who gets to sell your art, people are going to want to buy quality art and not something that looks rushed and sloppy, right? Alrighty, and I'm gonna now, this is gonna be a little challenging because you want to make sure you don't cut your legs off. Take the time to go up and cut out that white section in between the legs. If you had a dress on, ladies, you may not see this part, and that's okay. Just make sure you don't cut a limb off. But there's a great thing. If you do cut a limb off accidentally, it's okay. When you glue it onto your final cityscape, you can simply glue it back together. So I see no white around anything down there, right? I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna move the trash out of my way so it doesn't get stuck to my glitter star. I'm going to cut into my hair where I have wispy hair on the end. Since I have my long blonde hair, I'm flying, so it should be flying right behind me. All right, so I've cut out those white sections. Now, the last tricky part is to kind of come down in here and then even to get that little part cut out. That's going to be even more challenging. Take your time. As you can see, I'm trying to move my paper more so than my scissors. As I'm kind of slowly closing my scissors, I am moving my person around and not really my scissors, ladies and gents. All right, so cut right down here to the hair. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stay right on that black line. Now, when you get to the face, that's going to be a challenge too, but do the best job that you can. The nose. The lips, the chin. And if you cut a little bit of your black line off, that's okay. That's kind of what Mrs. James wanted you to put it there for, so that you didn't actually cut your nose off or your lips off, but you might have cut off that black line instead. Again, staying right on that black line, getting up to my hand again. Actually gonna cut that off to get it out of my way. Go right back in here for my fingers. All right, and lastly, we got this tiny little area right here behind the hair. Boys may not have this if you don't have long flowy hair. Girls, if you put your hair up, you might not have it. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to crease it so much. Try not to crease it too much, but I'm just going to kind of fold it over gently there, put a little snippet in there. Then I'm going to get my scissors in there. Mrs. James has a big pair of scissors, which is a little more challenging to do with, but do your best at getting in there and then get the point in there and kind of cut around in that area. And do, like I said, the best job you possibly can, and that's all I can expect you to do. Alrighty, that looks pretty darn good. I'll leave it at that, move my trash out of the way. Now, our person is going to go right up here in the sky. And you decide. Obviously, we don't want to put it over top of our sign because we want people to be able to see our sign. But remember, we talked about layering, and this is helping us to create space. So we know that the person is going to kind of be in the front. That's why we're adding the person last. Then the stars and the buildings are next, and then your background is obviously your sky. So if you want to not cover your stuff up, try and kind of play around with your person and where you want your person to be. But not covering up your buildings either. Can't really turn her that way because she's going to be covering up or then flying, looking like she's flying upside down. When I go to glue again, you don't need much glue. I'm running a little tiny bead. Oops, I think I closed it up. Little tiny bead of glue all over the place, but not much. I'm not pushing very hard on my glue. All right, I got my glue on my person. I'm gonna very carefully turn her over, and I'm gonna get her glued down here, trying not to cover up my glitter star if I can, but unfortunately it looks like I have to cover that up a little bit, and that's okay. Now again, if parts are kind of coming up, it's okay. Go ahead, put that down. I could also have a glitter star here too. Whatever works. Try not to get your person hanging off the page too much if you can. But essentially that is the making of the artwork itself. We've created a wonderful artwork with yourself flying over something to own. I would also have done that. Now I want to go back to those pieces of construction paper that I had also provided you, whatever you have left, or even if you can find different colored stuff around your house. Doesn't even have to be fabric or paper. It could be fabric. It can be whatever you have fun and you can get your hands on. I'm going to take these pieces. I'm going to cut them in half with my scissors. I'm going to run a small little bead of glue. I got to do it so you can see it. My apologies. Small bead of glue right there. I'm going to take it and put it under the edge of my artwork. Actually, I think I need a little more glue here. And I'm going to put it right there. I'm going to press it down here. I'm going to go to a next color and I'm going to cut that off. Cut it in half. I'm going to, again, I'm putting the glue on the side where I cut because I'm sure that line is probably not cut very straight. I'm going to pick this up again. And I'm actually going to move this, slide this one up because I'm going to create a border that comes down. So as you can see, I'm kind of creating a frame now around my artwork. I'm going to go on to a different color. I'm going to get a dark blue, cut it in half. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to run that bead of glue. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to actually slide it in between my red. I'm going to go to my green here. And I can always use these other halves when I get around to the other side. I'm putting my bead of glue. Trying to have the frame match up at the top edge if you can. I'm going to go to orange next. So essentially, as you can tell, we're creating a frame. And then what we're going to do at the end is we're just going to take some markers and create fun patterns all over our frame. Because if you recall, those Tanka frames had fun, interesting patterns all over them. I'm going to go back to that turquoise piece. The other half that I cut off. Putting that on there. Picking up the artwork on the side. I'm kind of making that frame again. Okay, I'm gonna go to the red. I'm gonna slide this in again, get it underneath of there. There we go. I'm gonna go to the dark blue, and then we might need one little piece just to finish up our corner. What should we use? Let's use the orange. I'm gonna put the orange. I'm gonna put a, so I'm gonna just lay it right under the back here. Now, if you have longer strips of construction paper that you wanna use and kind of cut them to your advantage, that is completely fine. Do whatever works best for you. If you see the papers kind of coming apart, lay some glue underneath there. Help yourself out. And the final step is to get some markers. I just have some Crayola markers right here. And I'm gonna have fun with creating patterns. And I'm gonna just do big X's on the sides here. Try not to draw all on my table. All right, so I did X's on that side. I'm gonna find something different to do on the next one. I'm gonna get a black, and I'm just gonna, oh, this is a blue, I'm sorry. I'm gonna do squares with a dot in the center, all the way down this side. Squares, rectangles, whatever. Let's go put that one away. Let's go to red. And my red, I'm gonna do just some spirals. And one last thing, what should I do? Let's do some zigzag lines. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get that black, what I said initially, down here, and I'm gonna do just 3 zigzag lines. Maybe just 2, because it looks like 2 fits. And then if you want to go in and you want to add any extras, feel free to do that to just benefit your patterns that you created. Make them as interesting or intricate as you want. Add any additional things to them. And just essentially have a lot of fun with your border. Do some other things to the squares and the spirals, maybe take another marker with the spirals or whatnot, but essentially at the end of the day, you are completed your Faith Ringgold Tar Beach artwork by creating your multimedia collage with something to own. You've done a beautiful job with them. When you are finished and it's completely dried, this would be the point where you're gonna take a photograph of your artwork and submit it into the assignment. Don't forget, when you're taking those photographs of your artworks, please, please, please make sure that the lighting in your artwork is really, really good. You are holding your camera right up above that artwork and getting that aerial perspective. I don't see your artwork in a trapezoid shape, but I see a true rectangle right above your artwork. If you have any questions, it would be best to reach out to me during office hours, but I will be around to answer questions. If you have any other questions, reach out. I want to make sure you have all the answers before you feel like you're not sure what to do. So have fun with this. It's supposed to be fun, and enjoy, ladies and gents. I will talk to you soon. Bye.